score on that champion, really able to clean up fights, found farm everywhere, but it is going to be Hecarim taken away afterwards, and this is interesting. This is against Sharp, and Sharp not necessarily the Hecarim player. Perfection normally known for that.
Yeah, he certainly is, and you know, I actually understand it because on the other side of the rift, you have a very, I guess, uncomfortable top laner. He does need his lane to be camped a little bit, and getting rid of Hecarim, one of these lane bullies, is just going to only open up the map for Ryu to really get him into a comfort zone.
Yeah, we are just going to reset just a little bit, but Ryze understandably going to be taken away. 5.10, ladies and gentlemen. So that champion, pretty freaking stupid.
Yeah, it certainly is, but it's being taken away by the blue side team, which is a little bit strange coming in. You expect to see it as a red side ban just because it is very first pickable. Doesn't have many bad matchups right now. Does well against range and melee with a constant lockdown, but obviously Sharp not comfortable to pick that one up. Maybe Perfection doesn't play it in the mid lane either, where we have seen a little bit of Ryze, so it's just taken off the board.
Yeah, not going to see that one. Sivir is going to be then the response from Immunity. They do not want to see that in the hands of King. King, of course, known for flashing over base walls as Sivir. A little bit ridiculous, but the answer then is going to be Rek'Sai, aimed at Soul Strikes, and of course Soul Strikes playing a ridiculous amount of that champion.
Yeah, Soul Strikes is a great Rek'Sai player, and he just camps lane. This is what Soul Strikes always been famous for, getting into the same lane repetitive times, burning summoner spells, making the enemy top laner's life a little bit uncomfortable. So getting him off that champion that has a very easy job at repetitive ganking is a good strategy coming through for Direwolves.
Yeah, and of course the Direwolves know very closely what Soul Strikes is keen to do. Of course, formerly a Direwolves player himself. So, look, seeing whether they can remove his comfort champions, and they know exactly what Soul Strikes is capable of. They know what he favors, know what he's into.
Yeah, that was one of the mid-season swaps where they put Sybil onto their lineup. But you see, first pick being picked up for Sharp is the Kalista, not banned away. Very high-pressure AD carry, especially at the early stage of the game. Great for securing those objectives. And Direwolves, you feel that their bottom lane has to get back to their aggressive roots. We've talked about it. The Flash brothers down there, Chuffer and King, haven't really been that consistent this split, so need to make sure that they're on point this game.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, it looks like Immunity going to be leaving up potentially that Thresh as well. Chuffer having one of his best performances of ever on that champion. Absolutely ridiculous, picking up all sorts of amounts of kills. He was almost, I think it was almost highest kills in the game as Thresh. Really stupid. Last split, go back, check it out because it was amazing. But looks on the side of Team Immunity like they're definitely mixing things, because Nautilus and Karma together would be an odd decision.
Yeah, but I don't think it is going to be locked in. You see the Gragas coming through there. This isn't a surprise at all, because we mentioned the fact that Soul Strikes like to get into a lane repetitively, gank it. No Rek'Sai available. Gragas definitely the next best jungler at doing that body slam. Got the chain slow that can come through from the barrel as well. A heck of a lot of damage. So not surprised to see that one come through. And it's going to be Nautilus for T-Gun in the bottom lane. He had a fantastic Morgana game. Wasn't banned away this time around. That was against Legacy, of course. But this time going for very heavily engaged. A little bit of peel comes out of the Nautilus kit, but a much more aggressive pick than we're used to seeing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, he has tried his hand at the Nautilus a few times, but look, we'll see how it works out here as we get closer and closer to the game, because he had great performances. T-Gun's just been playing fantastically in general. One thing that we didn't mention was the Fizz ban, so aimed at Sharp of all people, but I guess Fizz most notably a mid lane as far as his lineage is concerned, so an understandable ban away.
Yeah, it could definitely be either. It's even seen a little bit more play in the jungle coming in other regions. He's a tanky top laner, and he's a high burst mid laner. Couple it with something with Ashe, and you've got great pick potential coming through there. So I can see the threat of Fizz in the current meta, especially as Vision becomes even more important.
Yeah, so Bard and Zac, though, have been locked in here for the Direwolves. Sybil taking that blob into the jungle, making sure that he can get things done, and already a tanky lineup with a lot of extra mobility that Elastic Slingshot and you're looking concerned, and the Magical Journey can offer, but why are you concerned?
So that's some very unique gang pathing that can come through from Sybil. The Elastic Slingshot is a very long-range ganking spell, especially as you level up. Couple that with the fact that Magical Journey can just take you on some strange rides around the map. This is going to mean that the bottom lane of Immunity need to be careful, because if Zac ever gets behind you, he can wreak terror. Yeah, well, this is the thing, and they've also got it's almost like there aren't any walls in the jungle anymore. For those two champions especially, and Bard can allow people to follow him through. And Immunity may have been a little bit thrown by these couple of picks, taking a long time coming through with their decisions here in this champion select. And look, we'll see what they finally decide on as we get closer and closer. But
it's an interesting comp to now decide to counterpick, you know?
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think that they've gone with a Maokai up there in the top lane, so you'll see that they'll be able to get a little bit more of engaged through Maokai. He's going to be the tanky front line. They've also gone with Jinx to be able to allow them to have that high damage output that they need during the end game team fights. A little bit more turret pushing potential than what Kalista is going to bring early game as well. So a very well-rounded comp being put together by Immunity, and you have to think that maybe late-ish game focus coming through from Direwolf so far.
Yeah, and I guess Jinx is going to help Immunity as far as answering that, so that makes a whole lot of sense as far as, you know, getting them in there, making sure that they're still relevant as the game progresses. But I want to talk about the Maokai pick because I love this. Ventral Maelstrom against Rend is a fantastic tool if he's going to stick with Zenk and try and alleviate the pressure and peel for the carry.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you know, Rend is that ability that it's very telegraphed. It stacks up. You get a lot in there. With Hurricane, of course, Maokai is also reducing all of that damage that can come through. So Zenk going to be a little bit safer if he does get the teleport ganks. Not to mention the fact that great peel potential so far in the whole Immunity lineup's going to keep the new AD carry very safe. But over on the side to Direwolves, Perfection's lost in Twisted Fate. And this is something that he was so high elo on the NA server just playing this champion in Kassadin. He still plays it incredibly well. If any part of the map is overextended for Immunity, expect Perfection to show up.
Yeah, and there's sort of the immobile Jinx, of course, before she gets excited. Definitely a gank target for that Twisted Fate. A fantastic look. And look, we've got one of the three notable Twisted Fate players of the Oceanic region, of course, Swiffer, Kensti, and Perfection. And Perfection, arguably, probably one of the most veteran of those players.
Yeah, it certainly is. And they're coupling it with a Gnar. So a lot of CC currently in the Direwolves lineup. They've got the big Wombo combo that can come out of Sybil as well as Sharp up there in the top lane. Layer that with all of Perfection's damage and CC that will come out of Twisted Fate. And just honestly, a heck of a lot of damage that will come out of a mid-game Kalista means that team fights are going to be risky at the best of times.
Yeah, and have they organized sort of this team comp as far as that 2-item spike that Kalista is going to be hitting? Are they aiming for these dragon fights?
Well, through the inherent powerfulness of the kit, the transform that comes through the cooldown reduction that you grab on Twisted Fate, they're going to have the ability to fight. Not to mention the fact that Twisted Fate gives you a lot of vision control during the mid game. Yeah. That Destiny useful to light up the map when you're going for things like Dragon, things like Baron. So they do have the ability to fight. I don't know whether the 5v5 fight, especially with Azir being locked in here for Cheese, is going to be on the same strength. So they're going to have to try and pull them around the map, get a little bit more split pushing going, and then take opportunistic fights.
Yeah, and we saw a similar team comp, especially involving, you know, the Jinx and the Azir coming through from the Chiefs last week on Thursday when we saw them. That was devastating, especially when we drew near that sort of late mid-game part of the game. And man, Cheese, we were talking about his Azir, didn't get a ban. He's going to lock it in one more time, and we'll see whether Immunity can sort of ride that momentum towards a victory.
Yeah, but confident playing it into a pseudo counter matchup. Azir has the hard engage to get on top of Twisted Fate, but never really has much kill potential. Twisted Fate going to be able to just shove the lane repetitively with that wild cards and the cooldown reduction boots that will come through, do a lot of work around the map with the Destiny, whereas Cheese going to be very much rooted in his lane, probably has to look to shove Cheese in. And that is going to be, I guess, whoever gets the best of that matchup, whether it is a repetitive push, keep Twisted Fate underneath his turret, or whether it's Twisted Fate pushing in and getting around the map, will dictate a lot of the mid game.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. But is the fact that Soul Strikes is on Gragas, is that going to help this mid lane? Because I have to think that Immunity probably going to focus Perfection. Perfection generally a magnet for every sort of ganking inclined person on the map whenever the Direwolves hit the Rift. So we'll see whether it is going to mean that we are going to have a whole lot of Gragas attention. The barrels, the explosive cast especially, is going to be effective against a Twisted Fate.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, you know, especially if he can get both summoner spells early in the game, should be able to get in there for those repeat ganks that we like and try and impact the mid.
Yeah, and one thing I want to talk about is the Bard-Kalista synergy. It's not something that, look, you necessarily talk about. You talk about the likes of Thresh, lots of like Morgana, so you can get in amongst it. What does Bard and Kalista offer?
So they have some sustain in the lane. Bard is a little bit of a lane bully, especially if he's able to tether opponents to creeps, gets a lot of damage done early game, has some fairly good harass, but they're probably looking for a lane swap coming in here, Direwolves, try and protect the Kalista, and then just allow Bard to do what he does best, roam around the map, try and impact other lanes.
Well, we'll see if we can do that. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to want to hear what you think about this one. Tweet to us. Use that hashtag DWWin if you think it's the Direwolves, or the hashtag IamWin if you think that Immunity have this, and whether they can ride the momentum from a few victories or whether it's Direwolves picking up perfection and finding their stride one more time. I'm excited to see how this goes because I think that this could go either way. Of course, both of these teams looking like they're moving forward at a similar pace.
Yeah, and like to think that last week, heading into the week, we nearly wrote Immunity off. They were all over the place, very vocal on Twitter about trying to get it back together as a team. And last week definitely proved that they were able to do that. So let's see whether they can ride that momentum in. They've been playing more cohesively than we've seen Immunity all year, honestly, coming into this one, since Cheese really joined the lineup when they had their really last big push. But Direwolves, they're just such a formidable lineup. They came, of course, runners-up last year in the first split of the OPL. Perfection was in the top lane and wreaking havoc across the OPL. He's moved to the mid lane. He's doing similar things. The big question mark to me is in the top lane. Will Ryu get ahead again, or will Sharp be able to hold him down? Because, honestly, we've seen questionable and fantastic performances out of both top laners so far.
Yeah, and it's actually a really interesting situation as well, isn't it? Considering the fact that both of these top laners may have been written off just a little bit. You know, Ryu hasn't necessarily fit in as he joined the Immunity lineup all that well. And look, Sharp, a mid laner by heart. So we'll see how this one goes, how it ends up. Of course, Sharp is on the Gnar. He's played it a fair bit. Of course, he's going to have some nightmares from the Minky Well game. But look, as long as he puts that behind him, he's going to have a decent one. And up against the Maokai, I mean, it's a pretty standard matchup.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, he's able to go a little bit of the armor shred through there if he goes for Black Cleaver. It will mean that it synergizes incredibly well with the AD carry role coming in. They're going to be able to stack up all the rend on Black Cleave targets. It's just such an important thing. Gives him a lot of base damage, buffs in the Mega Gnar form. So I definitely think that there is something here for Sharp to get some work done.
Well, we'll see whether he does. We are going to hop into the game, so let's throw it over to the caster desk with Pastry Time and Rusty.
Thank you very much, Atlas, and welcome back as we are about to get into game number one. My name is Julian Pastry Time Carr. Joining with me is Zach Rusty Pie, and we're going to start another great day of the OPL. And this opening game is awesome, Rusty.
This game has a lot of hype behind it. We didn't know what we were going to have coming into this the first week, but they said it out there a week ago. Immunity were questionable. And now coming into this game, they look like a brand new side, completely reinvigorated, and they've just wrecked their way through that last week.
They have, and even the Direwolves, maybe not the same results that we would have expected from a team that finished second in split number one, but they've just still been going from strength to strength. A couple of things moving around. Perfection, though, still a fantastic player. King looking good there as well. And if there's any way to start the first game of the night, it has to be with Perfection's Twisted Fate.
Of course, something that has been banned away from him multiple times in the OPL so far, finally being left available for him to collect, and he's going to be a very happy. Perfection suits his play style in that mid lane very perfectly. Loves to roam around, have this impact everywhere. It's different to what we saw in the top lane of Perfection, but definitely preferring that roaming-oriented play style now, and Twisted Fate is his baby.
It is. I mean, he's been playing it forever, along with that cast that we've seen a little bit of. But even on the other side as well, Cheese, he's played a lot of Azir in the OPL this split.
Yeah, we saw the stats 2-1 as Azir. He's been doing a lot of work. Hasn't seen this crazy amount of success with it just yet, but individually, he's been very strong.
Yeah, I think Cheese has looked great here, and both these mid laners and the rest of their teams look formidable here as we move on to the rift for game number one. The Direwolves over on the blue side, Immunity hanging out over on the red, and a lot of unconventional stuff. The Direwolves, honestly, to me, looking at this team comp, they're just sort of doing their own thing.
You say unconventional, but the Direwolves, they make it
They
legitimate.
do.
We've got Zach. Sybil has played it once before in the OPL, and I believe saw success on that. Fantastic Zac player. We've got Twisted Fate for Perfection, and again, all these champions that aren't the most common, but they make it work exceptionally.
I think you mentioned they did play it already. I believe it was with the Bard as well. So they've played this Zac Bard Kalista sort of strange combination. Maybe even the Gnar in there as well. But Twisted Fate adds another new dimension to what maybe could be some sort of wombo combo being built. But over on the other side of Immunity, they've just got very standard, very strong, nice scaling champions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You look at the Immunity lineup and you think to yourself, they're scaling in terms of having a front line for Zank and Cheese is ridiculous at the moment. They have all of the front line in the world with Nautilus, Gragas, and Maokai. And then they've got the fallback of Jinx and Azir that are always going to scale super well. But if you have a look at the side of Direwolves in comparison, you do sort of question their team fighting capabilities. They're very unique champions and very niche, but if played right, end together very well, then they can out-team fight nearly everything.
Well, we'll have to see how it does shake out here. As level 1, we're going to have Sharp and Sybil together. They'll be starting the Gromp. Down the bottom side, it seems like King and Chopper are doing the Krug. But by the looks of things, you have a lane swap here with Iron's dual lane sitting in the top side.
Yeah, from the looks of it, Immunity opting into that lane swap. They don't want anything to do with the 2v2, and I guess Bardic Kalista is quite an overwhelming lane. They have that sustain advantage, of course, as well. And Kalista very able to take down people with prolonged trades. Against the tank bot laner like a Nautilus, that's what you'd see.
Oh, nice invade here as well coming through for T-Gun. Going to try and disrupt this buff here. Blue buff under threat. Sybil and Sharp going to try and force T-Gun away. The Boomerang actually doing a bit of work here, but T-Gun, yeah, actually going to keep going in. Sharp level 1 though will chase him out, and Sybil will just get his pull. The Ryu, he's come down round as well. He actually just flanked his way in. Sybil hops his way out, but Soul Strikes is there. The Bloblets are here now. Sharp is going to be Mega Gnar at level 1, but T-Gun's trying to get in. Soul Strikes takes the first button. Sharp flashes out.
And a fantastic group there from Immunity, coming in there early, taking away not the buff, but getting Sybil for it. So essentially getting the buff. Zac gets very low with that first jungle camp. Sharp looking to help him out. Because Immunity put the lane swap into effect, it was on to them as to where they wanted to go. They chose instead to invade, and they find themselves a kill.
Really creative stuff, though. I've seen a lot of Nautiluses disrupt 1v2, but that was the first time they've simply brought everyone else's perfection. Might be the next target here. Might have just spotted them off here, but only level 3 with just a flash here. Twisted Fate quite vulnerable.
Definitely a vulnerable champion. Has no real mobility besides the flash. He does have it available, thankfully, but opting towards that Ignite as well is interesting. Most TFs like that Ghost.
Yeah, a bit more mobility there, but instead Sharp will walk back towards his top lane and find Ryu, who's level 2, hanging out in his jungle. Soul Strike's also level 2. Trinket Wards down everywhere to spot Sharp off. He's only level 1. He can't be here. Soul Strikes comes in, does miss the body slam, but Sharp will just be safe.
Feeling that Gragas change. The slower body slam, not actually getting him. Gragas losing a bit of weight in that last patch, not able to pick up Sharp just there.
And Sharp is coming up as well. Great double Cosmic Binding. Gets him off him, but Sharp only level 1 still. The Chopper's down. So much CC, and Zank gets a kill.
Sharp, you can't go to your own lane, mate. There's 4 people hanging around there. I know you had Chuffer to come with you, but that's a big risk to take. You're now getting punished for that risk. Immunity able to freely push the tower.
Although Sybil coming as well. Jeez! Forced to flash out, but that elastic slingshot. This is why people like to play Zac.
They do. It's very easy to gank mid laner, Zac in particular, even that level 3, and the Ignite actually being used by perfection. They're assuming the elastic slingshot would hit. Ends up being a summoner for a summoner.
Well, instead, we have actually a tower in the top side falling. That'll be Zank taking the first one. King doing everything he can to fast push down the bottom, but Chopper's not there. He actually might have been caught, finds T-Gun instead and cancels the back. And Sharp will return to a very long and lonely lane.
This is going to be pretty difficult for Sharp, to say the least. You can see Chuffer's going to have to hold his hand, at least for this early stages of the game, to get him through somewhere where he's comfortable enough to at least fight with Ryu, who now has double Dorans as well.
I think Perfection might need to hit level 6 as fast as humanly possible and maybe get some influence here, because Sybil couldn't even stay to do the Gromp in Immunity's jungle. They did get the blue buff, so isn't going to get 3 buffed here, but it's been an awkward start here, and IM shooting themselves out to 1,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, awkward start is definitely one way to describe this. It's been quite interesting, but in saying that, it's Immunity commanding the entirety of the start of this game. Finding the ganks onto everyone, basically. They take down Sharp twice. The only exception to make is that Perfection and Sybil, they're being cheated.
Coming again. Chopper's actually here as well. Perfection! He flashed forward for the stun card, but Cheese is already out.
Yeah, he'd already used that dash, so not actually able to find anything there. Is casually walking away is Cheese.
So aggressive from the Direwolves, trying to answer some of Immunity's early plays, but this level 1's been all I am for me.
It has been. If there's any way to describe it, you've got Chuffer trying to have an impact, but the roaming has been matched, if not bettered, by T-Gun this early in the game, as now they're looking to reset with standard lanes.
Yeah, that was actually kind of one of the cool things about the matchup, is that Chuffer and T-Gun do like to roam, so the swap sort of unlocked both of them, but you're right, T-Gun certainly got the edge on that first one. Perfection is level 6. As Soul Strikes, I think it goes back for the pink ward, realizes what he's found here and will be able to take it away as Perfection goes back. He's looking aggressive, got himself a Sheen.
He does have that Sheen. That says to me he's looking to gank as soon as possible wherever he can. And top lane, though it's in favor of Ryu by a sizable amount, still going to be able to find himself ganks because only level 4 is the Maokai.
Yeah, level 4 now for Sharp actually was just Just hit level 4 from 3, so both top laners quite low after the swap, but we started seeing a little bit more of this as well from Immunity when they started winning last week, because it's Soulstrikes especially loves to try and get his top laner ahead, and it's not kills, but 2 assists for you is a nice start to the game.
It is a great start. It's at the very least comfortability. Feels like he's much more ahead anyway. Whether it's the kills or not, it's that control that he possesses. Having an extra Doran's at least at the start of this laning phase. Oh, hey there, Perfection.
Yep, just finds a new friend there in Soulstrikes. Maybe not who he wanted to see, but actually going to pop the ultimate. Goes in aggressive to the top lane still. Finds Ryu with the stun. Sharp's going to follow in. They need a little bit more. Ryu does have his flash, and it's not quite enough to fall. They do force a Perfection going in.
Oh, that's low.
Really wants it, but he doesn't go down.
Ryu actually probably could have hit him with one spell there and found himself a kill. Just turn around.
Oh! Sapling!
Run faster!
Perfection runs away. Sapling not fast enough.
Not able to find him, but good pressure from Perfection somehow to make it out of what was a gank in his face, knowing that the Gragas had walked away. Finds an opportunity to get his eye in on something, not able to find it, and because he couldn't find it, the pressure in mid lane from Cheese is overwhelming.
I mean, we've seen a couple Twisted Fates, just generally. We've seen actually Swifters recently, which is very split push oriented there from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Twisted Fate play this aggressively.
It's super aggressive, but speaking of...
Oh, Sharp in trouble there. Soulstrikes comes in, found the body slam. Sybil around the side, going to go in. Double knockup comes through. Arcane Smash not enough to take out Mega Gnar, and Sybil will protect his teammate, but falls low himself.
Managing to get his teammate out was the goal there, almost opting to sacrifice himself if need be, but very smart play there from Sybil, positioned in the right place. While we're talking about positioned in the right place, this jungle control from Immunity since the start of this game has been amazing.
It's been stellar. I mean, Cheese with Perfection gone, got decent pressure onto the turret, but a blue buff steal there. Going to give his ear that blue and deny it away from Perfection. I mean, bottom lane seems surprisingly calm, all things considered, but even Zek and Tegan starting to push their way in.
Oh, you call it calm, but what could ever be calm in a King lane? I have no idea. They've managed to not actually find kills is the impressive part, but Jinx having that 1 kill advantage, a pickaxe to only a Doran's Blade. King has actually done super well to stay in this.
He has, and I mean, what is it about this situation that's made it tricky? Because it's weird to look down and see the AD carries have similar CS, but the item discrepancy just to be so big.
It was that lane swap that started from Immunity where they got the tower super early. It couldn't even be responded for here from the side of Direwolf. So very easily and able to come back to the bot lane, picking up those 2 kills. One onto Sharp, one onto Sybil. At least picking up one of them in favor of Zank here gives him that added extra amount of money. That with the tower, finds himself with a pickaxe to a Doran's Blade.
Yeah, and you can see King, it seems like he wants to go back, but just can't find a window.
He'll be able to get a lot of items if he is allowed to recall, but you can see Zenk trying to just constantly push, not resorting to simply auto attacks, or just last hit, sorry, he is actually auto attack.
Yeah, it seems like we will have King finally recall, so BF Sword Vampiric Scepter is where it ends up as Chuffer returns to the lane to collect a bit of CS. Perfection's tower getting low though in the mid status, falling a bit behind in CS as well, trying to help his other lanes, but Twisted Fate can't afford to give up too much in Cheese. He's pushing so aggressively.
Yeah, if Cheese can continue in this lane, you can see the pressure Sybil has been trying to put down here. If it starts to pay off, you'll see Perfection start to run rampant as he goes in.
Oh, goes in, gets the knockup, let's bounce his there, gets him out of the flash, but Perfection can't find enough room for the gold card, and that's an ult wasted there for Zach.
Had the flash available here was Perfection, but not opting to actually commit too hard to that, as I guess they did not have vision of the rest of the Immunity roster. You could see T-Gun was nearby. They had no vision of Soul Strikes. It was a risk to overcommit, but they do get the Zac ultimate. They also pick up a blue buff here again for Cheese, and now the control of the lane, given that it's a Sheen start on Twisted Fate, pretty much entirely in favor of Cheese.
Yeah, Cheese looking fine there as Soul Strikes takes out the Scuttle Crab immunity, maybe considering the Dragon, but won't quite go in just yet here. King now with some AD carry items, seeing him get a bit more aggressive in this lane, although we have had Zenk go back and answer with a BF sword of his own. So Chuffer and King going to continue playing their trademark aggressive style, but they do have to be careful. Nautilus especially is now level 6.
There's only so much aggression you can put down here on the Direwolves lineup without it being obvious that there is a gank firstly, as we do see Sybil here, and secondly without actually dying.
Oh, Bardo does go wide there. Tegan might be the target. Sybil comes in. Binding flash there from Tegan, gets away to the wall, and Immunity just on top of the Direwolves' pressure.
Yeah, they're not actually getting a single thing from all of this pressure Sybil's trying to put down. Zach is exceptional at ganking, especially once he hits that level 5 mark. And we've seen him hitting all the relevant targets, but no one actually able to follow up on that engage here from the side of Direwolves. The Bard ultimate missing, TF not being able to get in range to put down that stun, and it just feels like Immunity getting out with more than they should.
Oh, Sharp could be in trouble, actually, forced to hop away, as we do have Gragas and Azir coming through. Yeah, very far, actually, is Perfection. Might be looking for something in the bottom side, does go down, good choppers, but he's on top of Zank, he's under the tower, gets knocked out by Nautilus King, though.
Oh.
Gonna take him out, great dodge there as the Fate Skull comes in on top of Zank. Chopper dives through, smite there from Sybil, Chopper's gonna tank the tower, and Perfection gets the kill.
And the Twisted Fate, finally the roaming starts to pay off. There's only so much pressure you can put down without actually finding a kill. Eventually they get themselves one massive here from the side of Direwolves. A BF sword and a pickaxe compared to the BF sword. Vamsetha's going to start helping King reel that back into Even, and even TF finally getting a kill in favor of him, starting to ramp up in his damage.
Yeah, the second ulti there for Perfection, doing a lot of work as King does take the turret out on the bottom side of the map, so will deny a couple more CS and be able to give his team a bit of global goal. But Soulstrikes and Cheese are back in the mid, applying pressure. Perfection will return in time to clear this wave out, but he has to do a lot more work. You can see why he's gone the CDR boots. Wants to make sure he's got lots of impact right now.
Now, what is worth noting, of course, is that the Direwolves lineup are playing to their team comp exceptionally smart and doing it very well. They've just been unlucky as Immunity.
Perfection, that's a few too many people. Ulted over there by Azir. Perfection gonna take a bit more damage, gets out for now. Chopper's actually here. Ulted into the wall by Gragas, and Cheese cleans him up.
That was a really nice Gragas ult, actually giving the kill over to Cheese with those Sand Soldiers. And Soulstrikes, you haven't been spotted. Sybil even.
Yeah, Sybil coming onto Ryu. Sharp wants it. Ryu does get knocked up. Let's bounce there as well. Sharp going to keep chasing in. Ryu does have a flash, sorry, but won't use it. And Sharp gets a kill for himself.
Sharp actually missing that boomerang he threw out, but it returned on the way back, hitting the Maokai as he used his twisted advance. Definitely not calculated, but very, very smart play here from the Direwolves. Again, their team comp is all about that skirmishing, finding early pressure, using that early pressure to give them an advantage in terms of objectives or just raw gold values. If Perfection gets going, if Sharp gets going, someone's going to be massive. And if someone does get massive from the Direwolves, it gets harder for Immunity to close it out.
And you can see the Direwolves going to get this turret as well. That's 2 for 2 now as Soulstrike's going to work on a Dragon as the rest of his team collapse to try and take it out. But I am up 2,000 gold at one point in this game, and all of a sudden the Direwolves find themselves with a slim lead. The Dragon will go to Immunity as King's going to pick up the red buff, but it's just been so much trading of objectives.
Speaking of trading.
Oh, Perfection finds the ward. Soulstrike's coming in. That was some sick reflexes for that gold card.
It wasn't even a trade. It was just free damage onto Soulstrikes. That was a very nice pink ward being placed in that bush as like a 5th sense, 6th sense almost.
Ryu actually in trouble now. Can't really get away from this. Smite goes down there to slow him out. Tower does go down to the bottom side, but King just pops her in and gets a kill.
So opting to trade a tower here for a kill onto Ryu. They do get a good trade out of that, but if this is prolonged, there's 3 Direwolves members pushing.
Yeah, Sharp as a black cleave is a bit squishy. Damage is good. Ult's going to boost him just out of the way. Perfection eats the rocket just in case, but his tower's still under threat here. He's going to try and clean them out, but Zank just too much flat damage as King, Chopper, and Sybil are trying to trade.
It'll probably end up becoming a trade here where they get the turret in the top lane as well. Not actually able to find the kill there this time as Sharp did bounce his way to safety, getting Explosive Cask even further to safety, and actually gets out with his life. They do get the red buff. They get 2 turrets for it, so it's a 2 for 2 trade all in, with an extra kill here for King.
I have to ask you, to kind of look through some of the item builds, well, there's a bit of a lull in the craziness. What do you think of Sharp's aggressive choice here? He's gone Black Cleaver first.
That is a team-based choice, essentially, and it's risky because 1v1ing against Ryu isn't necessarily easy. He is stacking sort of mid-game style armor, so he has actually rushed that Glacial Shroud, which isn't normal for most Maokais. They like to go straight to that Righteous Glory. What this says to me even is that he's looking to build stats for lane and split push a little bit more so that he's capable of 1v1ing and then group for team fights and be even tankier just because of that, and not necessarily needing the engage.
Oh, Cheese going to get initiated on, gets himself to safety though. Teleport will get cancelled by the Maokai. Perfection. One ulti gets quite a few cooldowns for it.
They do get that TF ulti in effective use, though not finding a kill. It's still definitely relevant. If they're fighting around the mid lane, Perfection doesn't need to split just yet. It is quite early. Tegan.
Yeah, caught out of position, gets a kill into the wall, but gonna get stunned up here. Sybil actually gonna use his ultimate left bounce. Stun card gonna come through, Perfection finds it, gold card's good, Scrying Up's better, and King's gonna get his 3rd kill of the game.
Actually ramping up massive now is this Kalista. 3-0-1, had the Bloodthirst and the Zeal already.
Oh,
He's
jeez,
been
gets
caught.
nailed by the ulti by Bud.
Oh.
Fate's called, not quite enough. Cosmic Binding is though. Perfection's gonna chase in and kill is gonna go to Perfection.
That almost didn't get a kill because of the secret little heal pop at the last second. They do get the kill here though. Perfection now 2-1 himself. And Direwolves with this comp using it very, very smartly. Since the small hiccup in that early game, they've found their stride.
Yeah, going in now. This tower actually going to get shredded out as Chopper. Magical Journey going to try and find a pick flash. Binding gets the slow. Does not stun though as Ryu going to get... King gets also backed by Soul Strikes. But the tower does fall. No other kills coming through though.
Fantastic ultimate from Soul Strikes that actually saved his teammate who was about to get gold carded from Perfection. Instead, they don't go down. They do lose the turret though. And again, Direwolves have just turned it on. They have just flicked the switch and suddenly they're killing everyone and anything in a nearby radius to any of their members.
Yeah, we asked a little bit maybe last week, you know, where was that Direwolves aggression that we've seen so much of, and this very skirmish-heavy comp here, they're using exceptionally well, and we look through some of the items that have been completed. Sharp's already himself going aggressive with that Black Cleaver. We have a Lich Bane completed already for Twisted Fate. Perfection's going Abyssal Scepter second to kind of pair with those CDR boots, and King, we saw him already. He's got a BT and a Zeal already, and even has more money to go back and spend.
Yeah, he's a rich king at the moment, which is pretty thematically correct.
Perfect.
Both. Yeah, he's going to have a lot of money. He's going to be able to back with 1,700 gold. That deal can become anything that he dreams of it becoming at this stage. Very, very big. Even at the moment, TF is about 1,000 gold ahead of Cheese, who was having a CS advantage in this lane. Not anymore.
I mean, that's the thing about Twisted Fate, right? It's just, you're doing all well, the lane's going great, and all of a sudden, Twisted Fate leaves the lane, and everywhere else feels like it's losing.
Yeah, and the best part about Twisted Fate is that passive giving extra gold with every last hit as well, because whether you're behind by 10 CS or 20 CS, the later the game goes, it starts to close more and more.
It does. You can see Immunity, though, trying to get a bit more gold back in their favor. About 2,500 gold up for Direwolves, but ulti coming through. Gonna hit just one person. Soul Strikes caught mid belly flop. Perfection's here, though, gets the stun. They're gonna follow in. Damage should be enough. King just gets the kill almost straight up as Sybil dives in there. Fate's Call's good onto Tegan. Sharp dives in there as well. The Azir ulti tries to keep them out. The tower's good as well as King just going in. So aggressive. Finds its friends onto Cheese. Gets the kill. Does finally go down, but Zank's going to get jumped on. And Ryu back to the safety of the Sun turret. Tries to be safe, but Sybil somehow stays alive. Ryu goes down, and the Direwolves at 19 minutes get themselves an ace.
The Direwolves going massive in this fight and just, again, turning it on in this game out of nowhere. A shaky start, and this fight, they get a turret for it. I guess it's a Sun turret. It's nothing in particular, but they find themselves with kills time and time again. They've got the Phantom Dancer finished, the Lich Bane finished, the Locket now, all of the big items that they could want. They're only ramping up in strength, and we find ourselves, Direwolves in a commanding position.
Yeah, Phantom Dancer completed there for King. Gold lead starting to grow, about 4,000 gold up now for the Direwolves as we have a replay.
So the Bard ultimate starts it all. You can see they get Perfection coming from the side. He hits the gold card, and this is where it just starts to unleash for the Direwolves lineup. The range of that Zac Elastic Slingshot is phenomenal. And this was great by Sharp to almost get over the Emperor's Divide. That Emperor's Divide was phenomenal. But King, that is the manliest thing I've ever seen. He actually dies to the Sun turret. And the Magical Journey as well, actually flanking them in between all of that. It's just such a well-coordinated and smart lineup.
Yeah, I didn't see that journey the first time, but that was adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, Chopper, trouble, goodbye. Zeke gets a kill.
No Journey saving
Caught
this
out
guy.
of position warding, no magic at all there, just a kill. Although King will secure the dragon as Kalista, because that's how Rend works. Immunity, we're going to try and regroup and take some counter objectives, but the Direwolves have been all over them so far.
Immunity have found themselves with a window, but they're up against a very, very capable wave clearing comp. And
Shot
fighting.
goes in,
Whoa!
massive ultimate! Sybil dives in as well. Sync's going to be the first to fall to King, and they're trying to fight back there. Good Emperor's Divide to zone them away, but Locker popped in. Ren for the slow. Tegan's going to try and get out King. Still hopping as fast as he can. Perfection. Really wish he had Ghost right now, and it's only the one kill.
That was an amazing engage right there from Sharp, actually catching them all against the wall. following it with the stun, at least picking up a kill on the back of that fantastic engage. You're right, he might have wanted the ghost there, but the Ignite has been working.
It has. I mean, I think the Perfection Ignite just really tells its own little story of how aggressively the Dials want to be playing with this comp.
Yeah, they want to be playing super aggressively, playing to their strengths. And speaking of aggressively,
tries to save himself. Perfection ulti's in. Chopper's here as well. Perfection going to get a red card, and that's enough for a kill.
all it took was that Lichbane proc with the card. Didn't even have that stacked deck because it's available to be used now. And Perfection finds himself comfortable enough and confident enough to pick up solo kills against an Azir now who has a Morello's and a Death Cap. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, it is scary, but I mean, I think what's scary for me is that Perfection, who was going for what I thought was an Abyssal, got a couple of kills and said, you know what, let's change plans and go to Death Cap.
He's kind of reevaluated how the game's going, and I guess he wanted that magic resistance, and that is a big factor up against this immunity lineup. Remember, they've got Gragas and Maokai top lane, heavy magic damage champions, and then just Cheese, the Azir. It gets you through laning phase to have that Negatron anyway. It's a good early pickup to before they have any Void Stars or any semblance of magic penetration. And then you can just go straight to the Death Cap. So whether it was an Abyssal Scepter or it was just a I need the Negatron now buy, has been paying off anyway.
It's been looking good, and as we look through some of the other item buys here for the Direwolves, we look down at King, got a bit more single target here for Kalista, but he's actually got a Bilgewater Cutlass now.
He does, working towards the Blade of the Ruined King. The double sustained build from King doesn't need a defensive item is what he's telling me right now. Wants to go heavy into that damage and just skirmish everyone. If he did what he did in that last fight in the top lane with the Blade of the Ruined King, he probably wouldn't have died.
Probably not. As Perfection, it is not going to be Death Cap. It's actually Zhonya's for even more engaged potential.
I was about to comment on that also. It's not even the Death Cap. He's going to most likely look towards a Void Staff, I would say, to accelerate his build and probably leave it at the Negatron, but he may go for an Abyssal.
I mean, maybe. It wouldn't be bad with the CDR boots, but Perfection, we've seen how aggressive he wants to be already. I don't think it's going to stop now that he's finished his Zhonya's.
No, the aggression has well and truly started. He's actually gone for a very mixed build here. A lot of Lichbanes like to split push, but then the Zhonya's more of a team fight. Is the Magical Journey?
Chopper wants it. He's going in. He might ulti. No, just gets a binding instead.
He went to go through the Magical Journey and he walked around for a second by misclicking instead of going through the journey. So yeah, kind of small. Whoa,
hello. King get caught out. Depth charge there as well. Ulti might be enough, but it's not there. Sybil dives his way back in. Tiga needs the Tempered Vapor immunity to get themselves the pick.
They find themselves King, and Cheese actually very smartly dodging as the hook hits.
Yes, Sybil actually could be in trouble trying to get away. Will slingshot himself to safety. Zenki hits some wild cards. That is not joking around on the damage front. But 5v4, I am going to push down mid.
Immunity finding themselves another pick on the back of their very strong catch team confidence. Bard actually hitting a wow.
Sybil going in. Perfection takes him out there. Zen gets bounced up as well. Chopper's binding sets up everything as Sharp. Gonna dive into the flank again. T-Gun gonna get CC'd for days. He's out of mana and quickly falling out of health. Stunned to the wall for another kill, and the Dials turn it around once more.
It's starting to feel like they're intentionally dying to bait the side of Immunity into a 4v5. Every time they are in a 4v5, it works out in their favor. They end up with a winning team fight. That Bard stun was ridiculous.
That was, yeah, threw a minion, I think, as well. Just threaded it onto poor Cheese. And that was the thing I really liked, is Direwolves, as soon as that happened, instantly all went in to get those 3 kills.
Yeah, it's the coordination from these guys to know that they can fight even when they're missing one of their main damage dealers in King. And this as well.
Triple Magical Journey Soul Strikes. Forced to ulti himself to keep everyone safe. Sybil will finish up the Baron with the help of King. Perfection eats the ulti there from Jinx, but it's not enough to kill him.
Finding Perfection there, but only having the Zeal on top of that Infinity Edge. Not enough raw damage. No Last Whisper or Bloodthirster to back it up. And it did travel a fair distance, so the damage was quite high on that ultimate. But again, they get out with the Baron, with their lives. Direwolves, like they were commanding before, are ridiculous again now.
Yeah, you can see that lead almost up to 10,000 gold ahead. And there's a Dragon up in a minute for anyone that's keeping track here. But it's been a very fast-paced game so far. Tricky to keep track of the objectives, but for the most part, they've kind of just been an afterthought in this game.
Yeah, 25 minutes with only 2 dragons taken at the moment. It's not a big win condition for either team. It's not a factor that warrants a team fight even on the side of Immunity. They're most likely just going to give it up here, give the Direwolves a free dragon, and look to make another pick. But this time, hopefully get more than 1 member so they don't bait themselves into another 4v5.
I mean, we've seen it before. The Direwolves skirmishing power with this team comp is immense, and Perfection, who at at one point did have a Void Stuff. I did see it. He kind of broke it back up into its components because it looks like he does want the Death Cap. Oh, he's found Cheese. Ulti's good. Perfection in trouble. Eats it. Needs a card. Doesn't have it. Sybil will get the kill instead. He might die. Oh my God. Sybil blocks the ulti. Imperfection. He's just saved.
So close was T-Gun to hitting that hook. Even the Jinx ultimate, everything wanting him dead, but King as well.
Yeah, King down by himself, but the teleports are coming through. Sharp is here. Ryu going to get rendered, goes out as Sharp. Mid-Gnar ultimate gets tempered, faded. Magical Journey as T-Gun's going to try and get out of it. King, though, still chasing down. He's going in by himself. 1v2, gets the first kill onto Zank. Gonna dance around. Soul Strikes, needs a bit more, gets the heal. Sybil's here as well, and King gonna look to complete the 2v1, and he does.
That's ridiculous right there from King. You can see the amount of sustain he has from just the Cutlass and the Bloodthirster. That is gross.
That is gross.
I mean, the rest of the Direwolves lineup here, they are all massive. You can see Perfection managing to get that initial pick onto Cheese, which is what made this all happen. And then the Tempered Fate actually trolling his teammate Sharp as he was using the Gnar ultimate, pretty much freezing him in the position of scooping nothing.
Yep, which looked great.
Insult to injury right there from Chopper.
Well, Direwolves do break the base and get themselves the bottom inhibitor. Perfection. Split pushing in the top side, using his ulti to get there. Will get a bit of damage done. And Rabadon's Death Cap, maybe a bit more than a bit of damage. If that tower had been under threat, it'll drop quite quickly as the Direwolves, again, just as an afterthought, going to scoop up the dragon.
Any localized person, thing, monster that is near this Twisted Fate will not be long for the world, that is for certain. Try as they might, this immunity lineup right now, the gold lead is stretching more and more. They make the picks, they think they've got the right fight, and then this skirmish comp of the Direwolves is just massive.
I mean, we've talked about the Direwolves being aggressive. I only just looked down and noticed that Sybil has just finished his Cinderhulk, as in literally just finished it.
Yeah, he went for the locket, got everything else first, even Lucidity Boots.
Yep, that's
casual.
Very casual. I mean, they were ahead. They wanted to get more ahead. Clearly wanted to team fight or skirmish.
To be fair, he wasn't really jungling enough to warrant having a Cinderhulk completed. Leave it at the jungle item and just work on that team fight build with the locket.
Well, Perfection steals away a blue buff there as well. And it started so well for Immunity in this game, but it's quickly gone from bad to worse to absolutely awful as the Direwolves just do not stop. Even now, with no major objectives up, they're continuing to apply pressure.
Yeah, the pressure is unreal at the moment. At the very least, just positioning where you can be on the map. The Immunity lineup is locked exclusively to their base and the wards around the blue buff. That's the furthest they've been willing to wander out of their base at the moment. There's no Baron or Dragon available, so it's perfectly fine here. This Immunity lineup can just hang around for a little bit longer. The Magical Journey's off cooldown, let's use it.
Yeah, King and Chopper trying to sneak their way around, want another pick. As I know Zank's in the bottom side of the map, just taking out the super minions. Under 30 minutes in, these minions are pretty tanky, and poor Zank, he only has the 2 items.
Now, he does only have 2 items, and keep in mind that they have a Twisted Fate, so the amount that you can actually afford to even split push inside your own base is entirely limited right now. You can see he's even walking towards the bottom now to reset it. If Zank goes there, and they have vision of the rest of the immunity side, watch for Perfection to try and kill them.
Well, they're going in onto Cheese instead. They get the tower damage onto T-Gun. Sybil dives his way in. Cheese going to take damage as Sharp takes him out. Nautilus is dead to Perfection as he roams in. And that's another tower gone.
And the Bard ultimate securing his position. Sybil going a little bit too early.
Oh, Perfection diving in. Wants it. Goes in onto Zank. Really wants to go in for the kill. Gets his Zhonya's down as Sybil will get the kill onto the AD carry. Ryu gets evaporated as the Direwolves charge their way in. And a Magical Journey through the turret may just signal the end of the game.
Yeah, you can tell they're far ahead when the Magical Journey is being used on the enemy Nexus turrets casually. This Direwolves lineup look massively impressive right now, and they just steamroll.
That was a ridiculous game to watch, but the Direwolves, in just over 30 minutes, managed to take it away. And I feel like we finally see why Perfection's Twisted Fate is always back.
If there's one thing you can take from that game, it is Twisted Fate on Perfection. Should probably never happen again. He is a monster on that champion, but you can't take away from the rest of the Direwolves lineup. And coming into this game in particular, we were seeing how Immunity were on that steamroll the week before. This was a big test for them coming against the Direwolves, and the Direwolves just turned it on.
They did, and it's just crazy again how aggressive they played after Immunity had such a smart and clever level 1 to sort of put them on the back foot here. I would assume in that position a team would play a bit more carefully and try and build back and neutralize that gold lead. They did the complete opposite. They got aggressed on and said, okay, let's answer that 2, 3, 4 fold.
If there's one thing we could say about the Direwolves multiple times, it is just the fact that they will always go. They will always take the fight. They find themselves behind, but they turn it around with just raw aggression and a smart team comp and draft. They get themselves the win.
It was great stuff to watch. You know what? Let's hear a little bit more. We're going to go to a quick break in here. Just a bit more from the Direwolves.
Am I
Keep
done?
pushing mid, keep pushing mid.
No, we can fight him here.
Yeah, I can also. I'm gonna let me put up my rage. Oh.
Yeah. Let's... Strike.
Yeah, go.
No. Point. Oh my god. Stuck in the wall.
Back. I'm tanking.
Oh my god. Kill. Zing. Oh my god. Alright, this is so messy.
I have passive.
Nice. AC.
Nice.
The Direwolves definitely looking in control and sounding in control during that team fight. But Immunity, they did come off to a fantastic start in that game. And the guys on the desk were talking about the fact that they were looking good, but things just fell apart afterwards. But let's talk about first what went right for Immunity.
Yeah, exactly right. What went right for Immunity is they put together a pretty solid draft, obviously something that they wanted to grab, and their level 1 was actually really smart. So if we can get a replay up of that, Immunity came into the lineup and they wanted to lane swap. So you see that they head towards the top side of the map with the Jinx, who's incredibly good at pushing turrets. And then Nautilus, T-Gun, he just wants to mess with the jungle. So he runs in there when we roll this out, and he just starts messing with Sybil and Sharp. Sybil on Zac going to get incredibly low. So you see he's in there. He's already got the E skilled up. He's just messing as much as he possibly can. But then they're not done. They bring the top laner. They bring their jungler in as well. They want to make this a real party, get everyone involved. Sybil, he's still going incredibly low on the back end, has to deal with Ryu, gets a fantastic elastic slingshot over the top, but wasn't ready to soul strike. So enters from stage right, able to pick up first blood for himself. They also get Sharp's flash off the back end of it. So that was just a really good execution of what was a lane swap. From there, they go back to the top lane, continue to gank Sharp, make sure he's very far behind, because we saw Sharp, even though that he became relevant, it was really more of Direwolves as a team banding together. He still went the aggressive build path. He should have been able to get kept down.
Yeah, well, it's true. And there was the fact that they focused so heavily on the mid lane. Cheese kept himself alive time and time again. But towards the mid game, everything sort of went face up for Immunity. Direwolves just turned everything around and it just looked like they couldn't lose a team fight. Their engage was out of control.
Yeah, it certainly was the case. And, this is the Direwolves we've grown to love. And in the mid game, the team fighting really did take over, especially the team fight in the top lane that you saw on Sound of the Games. Let's bring it up again and really break down exactly what happened with the Direwolves. And this is when they just hit that switch. They'd been relatively behind. They got some good ganks through perfection in the mid lane, but this was the first time they really came together as a whole team, a 5-man unit, and were able to take that one over.
Yeah, well, and there's the fact that, this team, they're ridiculously good as far as the team fight, the skirmish, that sort of situation is concerned, but they built a team comp that just makes these picks happen. Like the Elastic Slingshot, huge range, Tempered Fate, massive range. You can pick someone off, and you destroy them, and then it's a 5v4. And then you've got King for so much extra damage.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't want to call it a pick comp when we were sitting together is the fact that they're AoE, so they can pick one person off, but better yet, they were picking 3-4 members off and doing a very good job of it.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane. So I'm excited to see, what's going to come out of them as they come forward. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break.